Go. All right, so today I'm here. It's actually Halloween, October 31st, and we're talking about all things that reverse illness. And here with one of my mentors, one of my dear friends, Bill Clum, who's a co-owner of an amazing journey into the heart called Evolution of the Heart, a really important teaching community that's allowing people to open up to a greater sense of purpose and greater healing, and that's through all the work that you guys do, you and Patricia. And you've got an amazing story, and as we were just saying before we pressed record here, was that we've got a chance to know each other really well over the last 10 years, and I call upon you when I'm in an emotional shambles and trying to figure my life out in different areas, and you have such an amazing way of guiding me back home. And so I really appreciate you for all that you've done for me, and we've got a chance to work with you and help you in some areas as well. But your story as of late, through your own evolution and healing, has been nothing short of miraculous and remarkable on so many levels. So we want to take the opportunity to tell people just what's possible with their healing when they put all of these, what we call a multi-therapeutic approach, together, along with that deep healing that needs to happen from within. So I'll let you just kind of go and take the floor, and we'll steer with questions here and there. But if you could start off with telling a little bit more about your health history and your journey, and then what unfolded from there. So thanks for being on here, Bill.
No, thank you for giving me a ring. This healing I'm still learning how to take it in. And, it started when I was 55. I had a mitral valve prolapse. And I was told I need to come in and get an operation, and there was no way out of it. And so I faced it. And as they worked on me and put me back together, a vein popped loose within, and I bled out and I flatlined and went into the light several times, and then I came back in, and my life was different at that point. When I went home, I just heard a voice say, "Bill, do you want to be here?" And I says, "God, I've had a rough 55 years. I don't know." And in that moment, Spirit spoke to me like a blue shroud came over my life, and I heard Spirit say to me, "Before you decide anything, I want you to hear the people that I sent you here for." Multitudes of people were weeping and crying. And I said, "Oh my God, who is this?" And these are the souls you've come here for. And I says, "I don't want my life at this point, so I'm handing it to you." And that's what I did. And that was kind of the beginning of going into the meat grinder of life. Oh my God, I never thought, "How deep is your yes?" My mentor would ask me. What does the yes mean? He says, "You don't get to ask that. How deep is your yes?" I says, "Yes to what?" He says, "How deep is your yes?" I said, "Well, it's big." And, as that unfolded over the years, doing this work, fast forwarding, I came to where I discovered 2 years ago that I had another mitral valve prolapse. And not only that, what was causing it was the calcification around my mitral valve. Mm-hmm. So I asked the doctor, "Well, what can I do about it? I mean, can you dissolve it or laser it or something and open it back?" "No, we'll just check you every 6 months and we'll see what happens. It's going to get tougher to breathe. And there's not much I can tell you, and probably you'll have to replace it this time." Mm-hmm. So after my first experience, a little fear comes up to, wow, what am I going to do? And I remember talking to you many times, you and your wife, and sitting in your office and looking at that beautiful writing you put up about, I think it was Thomas Edison that said that.
That's in the future.
Yeah, and I read that, and every time I came in, I looked at that, and when I was really tired and I came in because you guys were so good at what you do, you're cutting edge, and you'd give me these IVs, and man, I'd come out feeling amazing again. And so I knew that something could be restored. And we talked about it, and you told me to get this too, check that, get the 3D. And well, it's not that important, and maybe I should do it. And then you said it again. I saw it on Netflix. I said, "You know what? I'm going to get it done this time." Yeah. And sure enough, it was exactly as you said, as the other people said. This thing was so infected. Mm-hmm. it took 2 hours to get all the chips and pieces out because it was so compromised right over my heart chakra.
Mm-hmm.
And I know what a mitral valve prolapse feels like. So I felt it again 2 months ago. I got sick
Mm-hmm.
or challenged with my health. And I thought, this is it, man. I've got to get it done. So me and Patricia, my wife, arranged for it to happen. But meanwhile, in my devotion, there was a surrender.
Mm-hmm.
I said, God, before I go, at least let me see my legacy.
Wow.
I'm still feeling that. And the people that have known me for 10 years stood in front of me. I saw the love they've held for me, and I've grown enough to be able to receive it. And in that moment, I said, God, I'm complete. Right now, if you want to take me, I'm just yes to it. This is the way I want to go. This is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that surrender, it's profound. And yet I felt in my heart there was something that needed to clear. And I heard Spirit say, Bill, is there anything or anyone that you have any resentment or unforgiveness? And if you want to do it big, find the person that's hurt you the most that's still there. And I went there, and the person was my daughter. So Spirit just had me get on my face and just ask, because of her, I'm here today. Even in her own contraction, the gift of my daughter has given me this.
Wow.
Even with our parents, even most of us spend so much time complaining about our parents.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, if you can see the gift in it, you move beyond it into the opening.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just continued to follow, I'd come in for your protocols, and every time, the chelation, that radical one, I wasn't quite ready for again. I think I'm ready for it now. But I believe in it. I believe in it because you've done the research, and the doctors had me convinced. Me and Patricia were making arrangements for to go in May and just get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went home and I said, Patricia, I can't take care of the dog. I just need to sit with this. And I sat home for 6 weeks. Every day, just really listening, not participating in anything. I actually canceled our first workshop in 10 years.
Wow.
I knew I couldn't go. If I did, my health would be more compromised, and I was told to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Go. And I did let go. It was beautiful to let go, knowing that God has them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was laying in bed, just kind of in between a state of where you're sleeping, but you're not quite sleeping. And I was laying there, and my whole body just felt so surrendered to everything. I just let go. And somebody spoke in my ear. It was like a microphone. Bill, you are receiving the purification and relationship process. A seed is being planted in you also of forgiveness, because others need to know the pathway of that, the power of it. Forgiveness actually is like vulnerability. It's our strength.
Mm-hmm.
To not forgive is a weakness.
Yeah.
And I'm not judging anybody. I just know in my own experience, the power of forgiveness, somebody has to have the courage to do it. So I believe along with that, and all the amazing people that have taken the naturopathic path. The lady that originally told me about the fatty liver, on testing, and hey, when you go back to your I almost said chiropractor, naturopath up in Canada, let him know. And, I've told you. And yeah, Bill, you need to clear that. So it did. It got cleared. And then you can ask me any questions or stop anything. But here's the thing. Surrender. Any resentment, bitterness, or unforgiveness that you have with yourself or another has to clear if you want to heal.
Mm-hmm.
It has to clear. And then, of course, when that's clearing with the assistance of the wisdom of people have taken the time, there's a natural pathway.
Mm-hmm.
It's organic. It's all organic. What you do is organic. The emotional body is organic.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been taught as Europeans not to feel.
Mm-hmm.
In our colonization, And so now we're being called out. So many people, when this has went out, have called me and have wept and are thankful that I'm here. And men with heart problems are calling me. Bill, how did you do this? I don't know I can say that I did this, I made this happen or anything, but I was willing to have the curiosity to say, okay, let's investigate. Let's see what happens. And that purification was 2 days before I went in to get examined. So I go in and I says, thank God, Patricia, I can hardly wait. Let's just get this thing done. If I die, I don't know. Again, I'm a little bit afraid to go back again. And the guy comes in and he does the, what do they call it? An ultrascan? Where they scan?
Maybe an
Ultrasound.
Yeah.
So he does that. And I've seen it so many times, I actually can read it now. So I'm laying there. I says, well, there's the mitral valve. What's it look like? I was told I had a prolapse. I says, it doesn't look like there is one. He says, there's not. There's no prolapse. And I just was shocked. I was stunned. And I said, oh my God. In my own heart, I didn't say anything at first because they weren't done. I says, the doctor said I had calcium and it can never be removed. Do you see any calcium? He says, no, I don't. I said, are you sure? He says, Bill, I've been doing this for 10 years. I know this machine. Okay, I'm just checking. So the doctor comes in and he looks at it. Well, you must have been eating a lot of blueberries, like I told you. He says, honestly, I did a resonating test and blueberries didn't resonate with me. And I stopped taking the medication that you asked me to do because I went blind in my right eye twice while driving, taking the medication.
Wow.
So it didn't work for me. He said, well, your thyroid's good too. Your liver, there's no fatty liver. Let's check your blood pressure. Okay. 120/70.
Wow.
No medication.
It's amazing.
So, give me some feedback here. Give me some reality. What happened?
Yeah.
It's a miracle. And you know what? Miracles do exist. And I really believe that when you're willing to follow the guidance of your own heart, not in others, not their opinions, be willing to let your imagination expand because it's a bridge to vision. And in our heart is the infinite space of all possibility. And when I got done, I ran on the treadmill 6 minutes. I didn't feel like it. The bottom number stayed at 70. And then my heart went up to about, 107 is about the best for you. I went up to about 130 or 140, the upper numbers. He says, man, you're good. Your heart's twice as strong as it was a year ago.
Amazing.
And I just never thought it would be me. And you know that I'm the kind, I will turn every rock to find if there's another way. And there is. There's hope. I believe that emotions play a big part in our physical well-being. And people like, for example, that have cancer, you see these innocent women that just are like angels, and yet there's cancer. And I think it's not because they've done anything wrong. And it's not because of Western medicine or anybody, because they have their place. I want to honor them for what they do, and I honor you for what you do. You're the person that tells you how to maintain it so you don't have to go there.
Definitely.
So it's just nothing short of a miracle. When I knew I was clear, when I went outside, I just wept in gratitude. God, thank you. Thank you for honoring me. And I think what I've discovered, I'm in love with God. I'm in love with God.
Wow.
I can't even put it into words. It's just a state of being. And everything that I desire at this point in life, God is providing for me. It's so funny. I wanted to go to Mount Shasta for 30 years. I've been driving by, coming back and forth. God, I like that lake. I sure like to go there. One of my clients invites me to go wakeboarding. 69. I was up on the second pole of wakeboarding.
Wow.
And my second wish is I was driving over the Seattle Bridge, where that big tower is?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I says, God, that's a beautiful day there. I get invited for my birthday on somebody's boat.
Wow.
And then for 12, I used to be kind of like a motorcycle quad three-wheeler racer. since 1985, and I had to let go of my stuff. And then I devoted myself to this work. I haven't ridden for 12 years, and I said, man, it sure would be nice to get back on a bike. Guess what I did 2 days ago? Coos Day, riding the sand dunes. At 72 years old, it came back to me. And I think there's a place where we have the doing part of life.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this place in our heart where just being.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful. I can't even articulate it, Nick, to be honest. I just know it's nothing short of a miracle. It's everything. It's the work I did with you.
Mm-hmm.
Even the doctors, and they're part of it, notifying me that I had one.
Mm-hmm.
And then the naturopathic nurse, who's actually an RN.
Yeah.
You need to look at it when you go back to Vancouver, tell your naturopath, right on.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just a combination of everything, and the devotion. The paradigms are shifting from sacrifice to devotion.
Mm-hmm.
So my question for myself, what am I devoted to?
Mm-hmm.
What are we devoted to?
Yeah.
It's a powerful question.
I love that, because that's where we get stuck. I think we get stuck in this version of reality that we have to suffer and we have to sacrifice, and we don't understand that there's this whole other side, that this reframe that goes deep, and that's it. Like, that's devotion. That's giving in the trust, and that's moving into this vibration of knowing that everything that's happening in your life is very purposeful. And should you choose to read those signs and listen to those messages, there's an opportunity for healing. But so many of us just get stuck in that, well, this is life, this is how things are, and this is where it's going to go. I'm really curious and I would love for the listeners, whoever tunes into this call, which I hope is many, because your story is so powerful. What was that feeling like when you're on the table and they're like, I've been doing this for 10 years. Like, if you could sort of describe that feeling of, what was that like?
Oh, you mean when they were doing the ultrasound?
Yeah, and they can see what's always been there, or we've been there for 10 years plus.
I just was so surrendered to knowing that I accept God on God's terms. The great one, divine intelligence, whatever name you out there would give it, it doesn't really matter. It's all just energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I just went in so surrendered, and I was, you always hope for good news when you've had bad news.
Right.
And most of the time, it's not probably going to change. And you just have to accept what is.
Mm-hmm.
I was right there with that, just knowing this was the movement for me in this moment. And, I'm not a professional when it comes to reading these, but I've sat in front of, laid down watching this a number of times. I used all that kind of stuff when I was an aircraft technician, a car technician, so I'm really good with machines and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't believe when I saw that it wasn't prolapsing.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, I can't trust my own eyes with this right now, so I'm going to ask the technician. Usually they don't answer questions, wait till the doctor comes. I said, I can't wait right now. I need to know, is there a prolapse or not?
Mm-hmm.
Bill, I've been doing this for 10 years. There's no prolapse. I said, well, it was caused by calcium. I've never had calcium before around my mitral, but where did that come from? I don't know. I said, well, it was there last time. He said, well, it's not there. I guarantee you, I've done this long enough to know it's not there. And then I just was in this euphoric place of saying, oh my God, I want to tell my wife we don't have to do this in May. My wife loves me very deeply, and the clients I do, and I'm saying, God, hasn't there been enough value in my life for me, what I've come through and what I've been through, to pass this on to the people I love? Mm-hmm. There's value in this, and then when my blood pressure, I said, well, I got to wait to hear it from the doctor. I know you're the technician, and I know you know what you're doing, but I want to hear it from him too. And he walks in, well, it's a good thing you ate those blueberries. I didn't eat any blueberries because they didn't resonate with me. Yeah. I love blueberries, but it had nothing to do with blueberries. Well, I know, Mr. Clum, you don't like to take the drugs. I said, well, I went blind in one eye twice. Mm-hmm. So I don't do the drugs. They hurt me more than help me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, let's just see what your blood pressure is. 120/70.
It's remarkable.
I I was just so stunned in disbelief because I did everything, Nick. There's no rock I didn't turn. There's no prayer I didn't pray.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing I didn't look at emotionally, physically. I worked everything towards that, and I just kept doing the work, surrendering, praying, staying devoted. Sometimes I didn't want to because I didn't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't force myself, but I said, God, you know my commitment here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all in. I'm 100% in. 100%. There's no such thing as 99.9.
Mm-hmm.
Are you all in or not?
Mm-hmm.
Because our humanity, I do it for me first. Our humanity, we're still suffering. I believe that the inward condition of our humanity and our emotional body is part of our global warming. Because in the room, when I work with people, I sweat out sometimes 3 shirts a day. Other people have blankets on. I'm sweating.
Wow.
And it's because I'm sitting there in the resistance, and the energy of my heart is burning the resistance off so people can open.
Mm-hmm.
And they do every time. Sometimes I wonder if they're going to or not. I said, God, I did my 5%. You got to come up with your 95%. I'm out here on the limb now. So I don't know. It was just euphoric. And when I got out, I could hardly wait to tell my wife.
Mm-hmm.
And she was just ecstatic. She's the one that wrote that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
she watched.
you sent me the message after, and I was like, I'm in disbelief too, because typically when we're working with someone, let's say like most people don't know to do what you do, to surrender at such a deep level, to do the emotional clearing, to really honor that emotional trauma that we all carry around with us, and have tools on how to clear it. So let's just say like most people aren't gonna know to do that. And when we're working with people and people don't allow themselves to go there, and we're working purely physically, you can only go so far. I mean,
Yes.
how you digest your world emotionally is how you're going to digest and detox physically as well. And you're putting all these pieces together, and this is the work that people need to do. So I was hoping, like, maybe could you guide everyone who's listening just a little bit more into that piece? Because when we're working with clients, it's the 3 main big things that are the 3 root cause things leading to chronic illness, turning on illness. That's toxicity, trauma, and infection.
Yes.
We can investigate toxicity, we can investigate infections like the root canals or whatever. Tell us and tell the listeners how you investigate into that world of trauma and the emotional clearing that needs to happen, and maybe a bit of a process, because that's the one that everybody absolutely is dealing with. Not everybody knows it's there. How do you step by step work people through this journey?
Well, number one, I live it.
Yeah.
I don't just talk about it. And, I'm a very hands-on person. And the emotional body's been kind of a taboo in our humanity, especially from Europeans. Because when we landed on the shores of the North Americas, we came in pretty destitute, pretty wiped out, famished, and we were just done, almost like homeless, landing on the shores of America. And these beautiful indigenous people who knew a level of truth offered their love, their support, their guidance. And it's interesting when it gets down to, say, for example, how people open, if you're medicating your emotional body, it's a great disservice to you and to all those around you. Because even in this moment that, say, for the word alcohol, you've heard that, right? It's an Arabic word that means it opens the door for other spirits to come in.
Yeah.
And your soul actually leaves your body. So some are medicating for the closure. The indigenous only medicate it to open. So it's anything but feel the heart. And it's really uncomfortable. The beauty of the uncomfortable, it's actually the movement. If you sit with it and are willing to be with what's uncomfortable because it's there anyway, As you breathe, as you open, as you meditate, whatever your practice is, it's the currency of the heart. That slowing down, which is so uncomfortable, is the movement, because your whole nervous system resets and reboots, and it's a whole new energy in the body.
Mm-hmm.
So there always has to be that forward movement, but I shouldn't say the word but, my wife schooled me on that, and I don't want to take away from this. Without forgiveness, there are no miracles.
Yeah.
And I know that. I've watched it in my own life. I can only speak from my own experience. And that seed of forgiveness that came to me, I planted in our last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And people that have been with me for years that just couldn't get through what happened to them, that was the weekend they all got through it. After 4 or 5 years with this, you just know you can only take somebody so far,
mm-hmm.
and you can't do the work for them.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do it for yourself.
Yeah.
And that yes in your heart. And I just do a lot of meditations. That's what we do in our work, is we do a lot of meditations, inviting people to consider and letting that bridge of imagination open into the infinite space.
Mm-hmm.
The mind knows that, thinks of the time as linear, and the heart knows that we're in the infinite space of all possibility. We're infinite beings. We just simply shed this jacket and we move on to what's next, whatever that is. So really go to the deepest place of where you've been hurt or traumatized. The most difficult per person, the deepest messenger that you probably didn't want to hear at the time, and ask what the gift is in it. What's the gift? Like, my dad was very conditional. He was a military guy. He was a drinker. He fought in World War II. He was in England during when the place was being bombed. You know, could you imagine that? We can't imagine that because we've never done it.
Yeah.
So they, in my dad's conditional form of love, he was actually consciously teaching me unconditional love. What am I doing today? That's what my father was teaching me. That was the gift in it. Was there some less than excellent things that happened? Yes. Because if we don't deal with our pain bodies, we're going to lash out on the people we love, and we're going to hurt people. So are we creating pain on the planet, or are we creating love? I've created enough pain in the past. I don't have permission for that anymore. I can only create love, because that's what our world needs. And so really loving yourself enough to forgive. It would appear it's about them. It doesn't justify whatever you've been hurt, whatever's been done to you. It is not justified. It's wrong. But yet, what if God sent that person into your life? Nobody else could have taught you that level of forgiveness or surrender, even though it hurt. You know, in the body, if it happened like when you're 5 or 10 years old, you know more about this than I do, but I hear the body shifts every 7 years. So the physical trauma that happened in that body doesn't even exist anymore.
Yeah.
Other than the neuropathic ways that the memories are there. And when forgiveness shifts and you let it go, your body gets rewired.
Yeah.
You might get a headache from it.
Yeah.
And I feel that the masters are working on us, rewiring us to set us up. You have children. Someday your children will have children. You'll be a grandparent. What kind of legacy do we want to leave for them? I want the legacy that I leave to be a pathway for people to actually experience the kingdom of God here. I believe it's already happening as the veils begin to lift. But forgiveness is such an important piece. It's probably one of the hardest things you'll ever do, is decide. And when you decide, it's like, I said, God, show me how. I don't know how, but please show me how. That's the most humble prayer you can pray. And you'll get an answer every time, every single time. Wow. Humility is a doorway to forgiveness. And the curiosity to go beyond where you've been before is the invite. Follow the invite of your heart, and God is faithful. Your willingness is 50%, and God does the rest. And so that forgiveness was such a big piece, and it came in a month or two before went in, and then that piece of purification was so profound.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't help but think that, I mean, you did the work to release your attachment to the people you help, to your life partner, your kids. I
I
mean,
let everybody go.
you let everybody go. I mean, like, it breaks my heart to just say that because I love you so dearly. And at the same time, I think what a gift it is to release that. And you've got more work to do.
I
So
do.
what is that like? What does this experience mean for you in the work that you do for people? Like, clearly you just, through this overcoming, through this victory, through this challenge, through this awareness, through this letting go, I mean, there's a whole new trajectory for your life.
It's, you know, you're right. You're right. It is. And I'm really noticing everywhere I go, there is an opening.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere, no matter who it is. And I'm not wasting my time to try to convince anybody of anything or enroll anybody in anything. It's not what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Yet wherever I go, a person looks me in the eyes, and I look and I say, oh my God, like my friend, I hired him when he was 15, he's 60 now. He's a multimillionaire in Coos Bay because he followed, I taught him how to fix cars, and he was good at it naturally.
Yeah.
And him and his wife, you know, they have a certain religion they follow, and they're pretty thick on that, you know. I grew up in the same religion myself, and I only believe in the Bible. I says, well, if you want to quote the Bible, I did it for 20 years. So here's the very words of the master that you honor. He said the books that the world could not contain the volumes that he could write. It would fill up our whole planet of what he could have talked about consciously. Mm-hmm. So one book is a limitation. There's so much more that we are unaware of. And that curiosity in our hearts, it's there because God is ready for this another drop of conscience to land in our hearts so that we can really make a difference. Mm. So now it's just this place of surrender that is beyond anything I've ever experienced. I'm doing my first men's weekend Saturday. My first 10 men are coming. People say, well, there's just 10. I said, well, I would rather have 10 dedicated, willing people than 1,000 people wanting me to do it for them. Mm-hmm. Thank you, God, for the privilege of these 10 men that are coming. I have no idea what they're in for, but but there's going to be some change. I know for sure there's going to be some change in a beautiful way, because I believe the call for me more than anything, what's important to you? Your wife and your children. Mm-hmm. The world's only unsafe for children and women because of the unintegrated, contracted masculine. So that's the part that has to heal. Mm. You know, we've been warriors for something that some people called for God, and it wasn't just really for some corporation. This is an opportunity to be a warrior for God in the form of a sage and bring light and love to the planet. Mm. And it's a purification. It's time for men to really get pure and do what they're called to do. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's not something you force. It's something that you open to. Even our practice, some people, well, I'm going to get, I says, no, do it because you want to, not because you have to. Yeah. We've had tons of have tos in life, right? Nobody wants to have to do anything, really. Yeah. So I feel it's devotion that I'm inviting them in to see their devotion, because they all have it. Mm-hmm. You have it, I have it, and it's opening in the planet. They really need us right now. Mm-hmm. Women have been weeping for ever since I've been doing this work. Where's the men? Even when I'm saying, God, where are the men? Where are the men of this planet? They simply haven't had a place to land. Mm-hmm. And now they're having many places, you know, like what you do on the retreat with men. There's a place for men to really express themselves and to, you know, when you're younger, you need that physical aspect of it, you know, that's part of it. Mm-hmm. And so it's just, I don't know. I really, it's just all so new to me. And it's so beautiful that all I do is think about it and ponder it in my heart. And I just feel it's such a privilege to be here. These are very sacred moments that I have. And the heartbeats, the new ones that I have now that are actually beating properly. It's just, there's so much yet to do.
Yeah. Well, in my prayer for you is that you got another 60, 70, 80 years in you to keep blessing this planet in the way that you do, because you're reversing the clock. I mean, if we went back to the physical for a moment, I mean, you did something impossible in medicine.
Yeah.
It's absolutely unheard of. It's not even in the textbooks. This is something that you can reverse. So you've literally turned back the clock and turned on a healing mechanism within the body that should have not happened if we looked in those medical textbooks. And so no doubt there's a new path, there's a new plan, and the fact that you can help men open up to it's not just men, but this is a really important piece.
Yes.
For men to open up to, and I really hope more men and women get a chance to experience these weekends and these workshops with you guys. It's so important. So do you think that, I mean, there's so much we can keep talking about, but I really want to make sure that, because people are probably like, how do I sign up? Like, where do I go? Please let us know how people can access your work and how they follow you, and how do they jump into the retreats? What happens now?
Well, I just know that the people come are the ones that God brings.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that my wife and I, we've sat in the fire and the stew long enough. I mean, I really sat with this and the uncomfortable. And I know whenever I mention something and I haven't fully lived it, God makes me live it. You said it, Bill, here's the uncomfortable. And I sat with it. And it's beautiful to know that the raw ingredients in our life, whenever there's pain in our being, it's not the adult that has the pain.
Mm-hmm.
It's your inner child, your inner being that is making a loud noise, and we suppress it, we medicate it, we push it down, we distract so we don't have to feel that because it's so uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And yet the uncomfortable, the beauty of that is opening to it. It becomes the raw ingredients that bring you here.
Mm-hmm.
And I can say it's true because I've been through it, and it's been uncomfortable for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
And even with my mentor, I loved going there, but the last 20 miles, 100 miles I would cite it, the last 20 miles is, God, my ego's going to be exposed. He reads me like a book.
Yeah.
I was embarrassed many times in front of 19 women and just me. and that raw vulnerability is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's the opening of your heart. If you're feeling that, really listen to your heart. The heart has all the information you could ever want. There's nothing to seek because it's already here.
Mm. Yeah.
And it spontaneously happens. I was invited to a New York thing, and I'm just kind of a student there. And so the lady opens up the floor. Oh, Bill, could you lead us in kind of an exercise? Well, I thought I was a student this time, and because I like being a student too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I led him in an exercise. There were people from all over the world: Italy, Germany, India, England, Scotland, and some of the other ones I didn't understand. They spoke English, but I heard an accent. I know where they were from. And I just said, go ahead and peel off that 50-pound backpack you've been carrying all your life that you've gotten used to. Mm-hmm. If you can't peel it all away at once, just walk down the road, take a breath, and just take a rock out at a time and begin to drop it. And just notice, is it getting lighter? Yeah, it's getting lighter. And then I said, well, go ahead and just stop for a minute, take a breath, and see yourself in that sacred space of your heart where this divine altar is, where you can take that backpack and offer it to God. I don't know if I could take it off. I says, well, you're really attached to suffering. You'll just suffer more if you want. You can, it's optional. Mm-hmm. So consider it. I'm not going to force you. Would you want to? And she's, well, I can. And it was the person's mother from India. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of tradition there.
Right.
There's no judgment. I've got plenty of my own. Yeah. And she did it. She said, this was awesome, man. I feel so much better now. Now I need to get my husband here.
Wow.
And this one guy was a profound teacher, this Scottish man. He's so dedicated to the inner child. I just love this man. I could see it all over him.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started doing that, he's just totally surrendered to me and opens, oh my God. I says, no, I'm thankful for somebody on the planet that you have this wisdom already.
Mm.
And it was just, and I says, okay, I've done my 20 minutes now. No, Bill, could you just take the show over? Okay.
Wow.
You know, I didn't really take it over, but I just offered my gift. So when the gift is really present,
Mm-hmm.
and there's that deep surrender and that willingness to forgive and feel the rawness, is how God works through us.
Mm-hmm.
And people that have desire, it's beautiful that they have that desire, but you've got to do it in yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we're looking at helping others, it's actually the distraction away from what needs to happen here first.
Absolutely.
So really honor yourself and all the work you've done, no matter where you've been, what you've done. Everything has brought you to this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Every upset in life is a setup to get your attention so that you can be healed and opened. And it's not all about the healing and so much the drama of emotion. There's a place where there's just this space where you've done 80% of your work.
Mm-hmm.
And the other 20%, as long as we're informed, will be these 1% to 3% corrections that come in. It doesn't have to be heavy demolition all the time, or lightning bolt strikes, or catastrophes, or financial disasters, or divorces, or whatever. There's this place of surrender where we're just being invited to have fun on the planet. We're allowed to have that. Yeah.
Well, and yeah, I mean, people get stuck in that. That again, it goes back to that idea of suffering and sacrifice and whatnot. We're looking for these big, huge moments, and I love that you're speaking to. Sometimes it's just that 1% to 3%. Those little ahas, those little lightning of the backpack that can go in such an amazing trajectory, because essentially as you lighten that backpack, you start to gain more awareness. You start to take those steps forward and start to realize that you actually are moving towards deeper healing. And it sort of makes, as you're speaking, it's making me think of something that we talk to every patient about, and that's, do you truly believe that your body's moving you towards health? So like if you cut your arm, do you believe that your body will take care of the cut on your arm? And most people would agree that yes, the body can take care of that. But we don't take that same level of consciousness into the emotional trauma or the different experiences coming up in our life. And you just beautifully laid that out. Every experience that shows up in your life is there for each of you. And you're being guided towards and through these experiences, big, small, whatever, in order for your eventual or hopeful awakening. And should you choose that opportunity, there you go. So on that note, people need to know how they can find you. So
Okay.
what's the best way? Your website, the workshops, all that stuff.
The website is the best. My wife has worked on this thing for 4 or 5 years. I just think websites for me are just for the phone number, where you're at, what time, and how much it costs.
Yeah.
You know, that's how the masculine looks at it. My wife likes us to be pretty and beautiful and pictures and stuff. But yeah, go to the website. It has some blogs, and if any one of you want to speak into it, we have a free 20-minute session. You just click on the rows.
Yeah.
And it has our schedule, and it'll let you know when you can pick a time that you want to speak with us. And the weekends, we do probably about 12 a year. Next year, we're probably only going to do 6. We feel to pull back for a while and just let what we've done grow, because others actually are evolving in our work as well. They're beginning to do their own work. And yeah, so we invite you, if you want to go deeper, you want to find that, if you've got that gnawing in your heart, or you know it's just not working, we can help you unravel that. What we do is help or guide people to unhook the places where you're suffering. And usually it's what we're ignoring or just don't even know, because it's the undercurrent of the unconsciousness that's still there. And, you know, a lot of it's mixed up in that. Our ancestors, our lineage is right there. Whatever we heal, heals in our family. Yeah, that's the beauty of it. We won't pass the pain and suffering forward. I'm not willing to do that. I'm clearing the path for you, for my children, for the people I love. And on a little note, I will have something to say too. It's important the people you work with, that you trust them. And I have fully trusted you, Nick, and your work, you and your wife. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's from here.
I feel that.
Yeah.
All the way here in Vancouver. And you're in San Diego.
Yeah, it's amazing. We're just so connected. God bless every one of you. And my hope is really that each one of you really come to know who you are, the beauty you are, you know, just your willingness to see yourself as God sees you as a game changer. God loves us. It's amazing how loved we are and don't even know it sometimes until we do.
Right.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
Thank you, Nick. My phone number's on the website. You can call anytime. I'm a real person. I answer, you know, within a day or so. I'm traveling. It's hard to stop because I'm on the road.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you, everybody. And I fully pray whatever is that you're really wanting in your heart, ask God to show you how, and it will happen. I know for sure. It's happened to me every time.
Mm-hmm.
God is good. God is great. And I'm just so thankful. I just never thought it would be me, and here it is. It's me.
Well, there you go, people. That's an amazing, heartfelt, real, vulnerable story of healing and victory and overcoming and surrendering. I mean, really, that's what this is all about. So, evolutionoftheheart.org is
.com.
.com, sorry.
Yeah.
Evolutionoftheheart.com is the website. Bill and Patricia Clum, amazing individuals, and we all need this work. So it's just like you said, if you feel the yes, you feel the call, reach out, because planet needs you. And
yeah. Yes.
Thank you so much.
God bless you.
God bless you too.
Thank you.